kind of curious about, clearly, Led Zeppelin concert in 1969 at the Wheaton Youth Center. I mean, what are your thoughts about that show in particular?
Well, I buy into the story that it was a pickup show, last minute, under promoted, which is why so few people showed up. There's no record, apparently, of any kind of advertising. They probably didn't even, I don't know if they ever printed tickets. I don't remember how it was done. I think it's usually just paid at the door. And certainly, no advance stories, because nobody who knew anything about even Jimmy Page would have known about this particular group. So I think that's a plausible set of events that, they were, I guess, Baltimore, and they were trying to, I guess, just have a little makeup date for a little cash. Barry Richards was certainly involved in doing a lot of these shows and would have been in a position, talking to promoters to say, well, we've got this band that's maybe going to create a little bit of buzz. Can we do a pickup date? So all of that seems really, really plausible. And certainly after the passage of so many years, it's interesting the dichotomy between people who are convinced that not only did it happen, but that they were there, and others who don't have any memory of it, who were regulars at shows at Wheaton. But again, pickup date, might not have heard about it, might not have gone to it.
Well, it's funny. I just recently found a article in the Post from '77, if you can believe that, and it was in a Rudy Maxa column in the Post magazine.
Sure.
It's an interview with Barry during his disco period in 1977. That's where he talks about how he promoted concerts, and he mentions Led Zeppelin. And still, there's nothing though. I mean, by that time they were, the biggest band in the world.
Right.
You name I could tell you just as many people who said it didn't happen
Sure.
as those who say it did. And, I'm convinced now that just nothing's going to show up that will actually confirm it or prove it to people who want some hard proof.
Well, again, with the theory that it was a last-minute pickup date, there's a chance that Bud didn't even have time to be involved, because, Bud would normally have things scoped out far in advance. So it doesn't strike me that he'd necessarily be included or excluded one way or the other for a last-minute gig. Maybe somebody just, called Barry. Did Barry ever explain how he was contacted to do the date?
It just was, an A&R guy, a promo guy, Mario Medius.
Sure.
Do you know Mario? Mario from Atlantic called, and when I talked to Mario, he said that yes, there was a show, but then in further pressing it, he couldn't remember. He had no specifics. There was nothing that anybody. I want to know the whole kind of architecture of that event, how it happened. I'm afraid that's just not going to.
Well, for one thing, it was quite a bit of time ago, and for a lot of people that was, 2,000, 3,000 shows ago, not to mention years and days. So I think it would be very difficult. I assume that Wheaton has no records of any kind. Do they have records for the other shows that they did?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, there's nothing from the park and planning. There's nothing from the youth center, which has gone through many, iteration. Many staffing changes. There's nothing. There's no record. Everything was done, I think, without contracts. It was just handshakes. These days, of course, there's contracts.
Sure.
But back then, it was just here's the keys.
Sure, and probably for the small amounts of money that were being exchanged, even with the band, no particular need for huge contracts.